Good morning. My name is Telle Whitney, and I'm the moderator of this panel. I'm the co-founder of the Grace Hopper Celebration, former CEO of the Anita Borg Institute. But I'm here today because I'm also on the board of AI for All. And we are very excited and honored to have quite a number of companies that are involved with our work at AI for All. And today you get to hear from some of them. So I have with me Yi Ng from Intuit, Kristy Rasbach from GM, and Abhijit Bose from Capital One. And I'm going to first start by asking each of them to introduce themselves briefly, and then to talk about how they're within their companies, their future, their vision of what a future in AI looks like. And I'll start with you, Kristy.
Well, good morning and good afternoon, everyone, and happy 5th birthday to AI for All. I'm Kristy Rasbach, and I'm the Vehicle Chief Engineer for Autonomous Vehicles at General Motors. So from what I'm involved in every day at GM, which is delivering our first self-driving vehicle at scale, really that gets at GM's vision for a future with zero crashes, zero emissions, and zero congestion. So I'm working on, and my team, we're working on delivering a self-driving vehicle that will make society better, increase safety, reduce congestion, and make transportation accessible to more people. So it's wonderful to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Abhijit, why don't you talk next? We can't hear you.
Can you hear me okay now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you, Telle, and happy 5th birthday, AI for All. It's really exciting to be here. I lead the engineering teams for enterprise machine learning at Capital One. That includes a lot of our ML platforms, applied research, and other teams like platform operations, technical program management. It's really critical for Capital One and to me personally that we continue to partner with AI for All, just to ensure, and as you heard from Dr. Lee, that we bring historically excluded groups, to be part of our next generation of ML and AI leadership at our company and also broadly in our industry. We make a lot of critical decisions regarding people's personal credit, financial health, fraud detection. These things have huge implications in our, in personal lives and on our society. And we want to make sure that we bring a diverse, inclusive, voice, as well as leadership when we build ML systems that make these decisions.
Thank you. And Yi?
Hey, good morning. My name is Yi Ng. I'm the product management lead at Intuit across AI platform and applied AI. And at Intuit, one of the really important things for us is to help small businesses and consumers with their financial data and helping them understand how to budget it, how to spend it, and then where they should be getting the most out of it. And one of the most important benefits for our customer is more money in their pocket and then less work as they're going through their day-to-day small business operations or budgeting processes, as well as just having more confidence. And so with AI, and the team is building capabilities, both from the platform perspective, as well as applied AI in forecasting, cash flows, budgeting rebalance, and just helping people understand how do we take it to the next level so that they can be able to trust the decisions that they're making. And that's really important for our small businesses and consumers. And we'd love to see that the team themselves being able to build a diverse and very inclusive environment in order to make that happen for our customers.
Thank you. And I know we've talked a little bit about it, but I'd like to explicitly discuss how your companies are involved with AI for All and what you hope to get out of it. And why don't we start with you again, Kristy?
Sure. I think GM's involvement with AI for All goes back a couple of years to 2018. And through our grant making efforts, we've helped AI for All expand access to AI education for students from historically excluded communities. So I first became directly involved with AI for All through the summer camp that's hosted in our home state and at my alma mater, the University of Michigan. GM works with a lot of nonprofit organizations and communities across the country. And really what's important to us is making investments in immersive hands-on learning, like what AI for All offers. And investing in organizations like AI for All is really, really critical for us because it provides equitable and accessible access to all of the relevant skills that we're looking for, when we're building our pipeline of talent. So increasing all of the diverse communities with all of the skills that are necessary to do what's necessary to carry out our vision, that really accelerates the path to equitable STEM and AI employment pipeline. So that's how we first got involved. It's been several great years, and we look forward to continuing that relationship. Thanks, Telle.
Thank you. And E, why don't you talk briefly about your involvement with AI for All?
Yeah, and similarly, I think Intuit as well, just really excited to be part of this, journey with AI for All. And again, happy birthday to AI for All for 5th anniversary. At Intuit, we're really invested in our people and our talent because it's only through people that we can build better things for our customers. And in that set of people needs to come from diverse backgrounds. And I think that's a lot of the partnerships that we're working with AI for All and other companies to be able to drive for that pipeline, as Kristy mentioned. And in my team specifically, we're always looking to hire some of the best talent from early career. And those are elements that we really wanted to continue to get involved in. And myself, I'm just really glad to be able to continue to be part of this organization and be able to help in any way, shape, and form. And just really excited to be here.
Thank you. And Abhijit, why don't you talk about your involvement with AI for All? You're now, we can't hear you again. Don't know.
Okay.
There we go.
Is it okay now?
Yes.
I think there is a little probably lag here. So, I mean, since we started partnering, I think we have supported like 9 different events with AI for All, including we have done a bunch of virtual internship fairs. I just talked to an engineer in my team who actually serves as a mentor. We have done the Changemaker, in AI, the speaker series. We have participated in there. So, I mean, as I said, like it's really critical for us to partner with AI for All. And we take, in the last couple of years, we have been transforming ourselves to become more of a technology company and also bring in a lot of diversity and inclusion into how we recruit, how we grow our talent, including like, we didn't just want to hire, experienced machine learning engineers from outside. We wanted to grow our talent who, may not have an ML background, but, has software engineering or STEM background. Same way we have a coder program, where you can be high school trained, but it's a pathway to join Capital One as an engineer. And we train the folks. We see the training that AI for All provides in a similar way, that it really broadens the kind of the pipeline of talent that we can bring to the company. And we will work with AI for All and other, partners to train that next generation of engineers for us.
Well, thank you. I'm going to switch gears a bit. All of you have talked about the importance of hiring diverse teams at your companies and also creating cultures that are inclusive. And I know that around the world, we're all struggling with COVID-19, and I'm curious to understand how COVID has impacted you at your company in terms of creating an inclusive culture. Kristy.
I can start with that. Sure, Telle. You know, when I can't believe it's been 2 years, almost exactly, since we walked out of our office for the last time, and I remember that day very clearly, because I honestly thought, we'll be back. You know, this will be like, it'll be a month. We'll be back. This is temporary. So now it's a month going on 2 years, and this is what I've seen at General Motors. So first of all, I think we've realized that, and of course, the pandemic hit at one of the most important milestones in the project that I'm working on. You know, how can we work remotely? How can we work virtually? I think we've learned that we have an incredible capability, particularly in the area of software and firmware testing. We've learned we can do a lot of that remotely. So people from their homes are able to, you know, connect to labs and execute tests back basically at the office. And in a lot of ways, I think we've learned we're more efficient than ever. One of the great things that has come out of the pandemic at General Motors is that our CEO, Mary Barra, talks about the way that we're going to work now, and it's two simple words. It's work appropriately. So we've learned that if we empower our employees and we make them accountable for determining where they need to be the most effective on any given day, we're actually more efficient, we're more productive. That's a great thing that we can do for our employees. So combining work appropriately with this journey that we're on to also become the most inclusive company in the world. One of the things that we've started doing on my team and across GM is we're very safety focused. We've always started meetings with a safety message. And now one of the wonderful things that I'm seeing happening virtually is we also have inclusion moments. So before we start a meeting, one of the great ways that we can connect and make people feel included is have someone share an inclusion message. It can be something as simple as, for example, today, Happy International Women's Day. You know, I'd like to just recognize all of the women that I work with and provide a few words so that everyone can understand, what is this day? Why is it important? So that's one small example that's helped join our team now that we're working remotely, but very clearly more effectively than ever.
Thank you. And Abhijit, why don't you talk about how COVID has affected Capital One?
In many different ways, just like every other company. Let me first talk about kind of like at a team level, at an organizational level, you know, and cultural, and then maybe, you know, how it actually affects a lot of our models because of the sudden nature of the pandemic. But organizationally, you know, we had to figure out how product managers, you know, designers and engineers can work in a virtual world. We were so used to just going to our office, you know, go to a board and, you know, do a design, which is no longer possible. You know, we had to figure out how to kind of bring the blackboard or the whiteboard into Zoom. You know, so we had to do some tooling as well as like just, you know, creating some norms and then more collaboration, more one-on-one time. Getting to know each other. Like we had sessions, you know, where we didn't talk about work. We just had our own personal kind of interest and, you know, putting up pictures of our families, you know, across different teams, like product engineers, you know, product managers, engineers, and designers, just to bring that feeling of being in the office back in the virtual world. And frankly, that, you know, helped us overcome the working from home and not being in the office together quite a bit, because I now know what my counterpart, like my peer in another team, what they are going through, what their interests are, just like I would know them, if we're all, in the office together. And we have also been, very flexible in terms of providing, as much support and flexibility to when and how people work. Even with the remote, we have been probably more flexible than many other companies. We never, like asked for a particular people to come back to the office by a certain date and all that. The other thing I would say has been a big change. As you know, most financial models, like machine learning models, are built on historical data from last 10 years. And when COVID hit and we all started, the lockdown, and the lockdown wasn't uniform, different parts of the country and the world had different levels of lockdown. Everything moved to online instead of brick and mortar. The data and the distribution of the data really changed. And so the models no longer, will give you the right answer in many cases, like both for commercial lending, for credit decisions. So we had to figure out how to kind of refit our models with these scarce and kind of the incomplete information and the data that were coming to us at the time. Since then we have learned a lot, and I hope we are going to be building better and better, more robust systems going forward. But those are some of the ways that, we were impacted.
Thank you. And E, why don't you talk about how COVID has impacted Intuit?
So Intuit is very customer obsessed as a company. So in the beginning of COVID, one of the most noticeable thing is when we talk to our customers, and our customers are small businesses, they're closing doors and they were not able to have employees coming in. So I'll give you a story. Ramen shop in Berkeley, a good friend of ours, the founder is Renil, and ramen shop had to close, and the employees had to get laid off temporarily in the beginning of COVID. And then government provided PPP loans. And so one of the things that the small businesses are having trouble with was just to understand how much loans that they're qualified for and how much they're forgiven for. And there were 800 pages to read from, and it's really hard to decipher. So one of the things that my team took on in the early phase of COVID, as we look at how AI, machine learning, and also our internal knowledge engineering, a rule-based system, can really help our small businesses and consumers to understand what this impact has for them. And we took this on and built a completely new system called AidAssist within 21 days with AI and ML behind the scenes and knowledge engine behind the scenes to be able to provide the capability to help small businesses understand how much loans they're granted for, and then how much money they can be forgiven for, and then be able to process the loan for them. So when we think about what in the beginning of COVID, there's a lot of changes that's been happening, not just within our own team, but with our customers. And our customers are suffering. They have a lot less resources than we as a company. And it takes a lot of effort to be able to put their life back together. And so it's really important for us as we help these, our community around us, and how to help them survive in those times were really, really important. And AI really took AI as a team, our team and our the capabilities that we're building was able to kind of take our small businesses to be able to help them right away, and then be able to accelerate the speed in which we're helping them. And I think that's when we think about how we can help our customers, and to take it with a grain of salt that AI is just a technology at the end of the day, but it's our customers and what they're fighting every day that really matters, and just being able to be there for them and be able to accelerate and help them benefit through the technology that we're providing and make their life better was what we were aiming for.
What I love about these three examples is that they're so diverse. I mean, you know, we need to look at the workforce, we need to look at the customers, and we're all struggling with it. There's no question. Well, we couldn't talk about AI if we didn't think about fairness and the ethics of AI. It's such an important part, especially as you increase your workforce to be more diverse. And I'd love for each of you to just have a moment to give an example of how you've incorporated AI ethics into some of the work that you're doing. And Abhijit, why don't you start with you?
Sure. You know, first of all, we do operate in a highly regulated environment, being a financial company. So of course, you know, we place a lot of emphasis and, you know, kind of like structure in how we build our models, you know, what data we can use, you know, how do we govern our models from development all the way to production. We do a lot of peer review, and checking for bias is not like an afterthought. It's like, you know, part of our, you know, processes that we have. And we are very thoughtful about keeping the human in the loop. Like, we don't want fully automated system where we don't know what's going on, almost like a black box systems, you know. And more recently, you know, we have been standing up a kind of an enterprise responsible AI function, you know, that will look holistically across the company, every place where we have machine learning and analytical kind of, you know, calculations, you know, to bring in really in one place all of the policies, legal implications, you know, ethical implications. Just because we can build a model or we can use any of the data out there doesn't mean we are going to build that model at Capital One or use that data. So we want to make sure that we hold ourselves at a high bar, you know, in this industry.
Well, thank you. And Kristy, how about you?
Yeah, you know, similar to Abhijit's just general statement about holding ourselves to a high bar. What I'd like to share today is, you know, we talk about getting talent, getting a diverse set of skills, making sure that, you know, we're hiring all the talent we need to keep moving our business forward. I think at GM, you know, it's important that we have an equitable workplace, and it starts with hiring. So our talent acquisition team has integrated, on the topic of AI, new software into our hiring process. What I've learned is, you know, when you write up a job description, there can be some inherent bias in that job description. So we're using AI now to mitigate any bias that might be in the job descriptions, so that we can have that more diverse talent pool right from the start. And then another exciting announcement at the end of last year, we announced our participation in it's a data and trust alliance. So it's comprised of, I think it's roughly a dozen of the world's leading employers. And the mission of this alliance is really to adopt and align on the criteria to mitigate any bias in HR and workforce decisions. So that includes recruiting, it includes compensation, it includes employee development. So I would say, you know, that gets right at the heart of fairness and ethics, and that's some steps that GM has taken that it's really exciting to share. Thanks.
Thank you. And E.
Yeah, and when we think about fairness, responsible AI, and explainable AI, a lot of it comes down to transparency. And transparency is, how do we provide information within the organization so that we can share appropriately within our own team to be able to measure our fairness and our bias. And so there are a couple of different things to look at. One is to the customers and one is to our data scientist community and machine learning engineer community. To the customers, one of the things that at Intuit we have is hybrid ML, which is rules and ML together. And when there are rules, it's much easier to be able to explain those results to our customers. So for example, if they're getting a refund for tax, we can explain which number on the form that they entered to be able to get that calculation and how that calculation was done. So having that level of transparency allows our customers to be able to see how do we derive those information and why our insights is helpful to them, and then creates that level of fairness and ethical behavior internally within our data scientists and machine learning organization. It's also important for our data scientists to be able to measure and slice and dice the data and see how they can, as they're building the models. And so that explainable AI capability is really important. We built our model monitoring services at Intuit and be able to see the dashboards and helping data scientists do the data slicing and dicing so that they have the best information at hand to understand how their data is translating to helping customers without inserting, that elements of bias. Of course, as Abhijit mentioned, in Financial Institute, there's a lot of regulations, and also responsible AI is not just a committee, but a culture at Intuit, and how we think about bringing that culture into our day-to-day operations, working with legal and working with our internal teams to really validate the work that we're doing and making sure that we're doing the right things for our customers.
Thank you. Well, we only have a couple of more minutes, but as we look at AI and we roll it out to the world, it's so important to have for industry, and many of who are represented on this panel, to really talk to us about how AI is rolling out to the larger community. And I'm going to give each of you just a minute to say a few words to the AI for All community. I mean, what do you want to tell us? What do you want to tell us about your company in the future? And I'll start with, well, who wants to go first, since I just sprung this on you? Christine, you want to go first?
I'm happy to go first. So what I would like to tell the AI community, anyone that's engaged in AI for all, as a professional that is involved in AI every day, doing exciting things every day, like making cars drive themselves. There's just, in my mind, there's not a more rewarding career path. I truly feel like with AI, robotics, et cetera, the sky is the limit. So we're on the brink of doing some pretty amazing things with driverless cars. And, to get up every day and know that you're doing that, and knowing that not only is it exciting, it's trailblazing, it's, we're doing something for the first time, it truly has the ability to impact humanity. So for me, I want to make sure that my work is connected to the greater good and for making life better for people. And AI is right at the heart of it. So, thank you for allowing us to be a part of this.
Abhijit, any final comments?
Capital One is change banking for good. And as our, founder, CEO, Rich Fairbank will say it, like, we were the original disruptor. That's still, the way we think of ourselves. Banking and financial services is just such an important aspect of our life, along with health and transportation and other things. So I think the AI is going to have a hugely transformative, impact on banking, with all the new things that you read in the, in the news today. But it's really important to create a diverse and inclusive team. And that's what we are focused at Capital One, to build that, to reach out to the communities, to actually get people early, get them excited. And that's where I think AI for All has been so successful, like to really inspire people, who are not even but just students, just like my own daughter, like they need to be inspired, and then we need to have a way for them to come to us, do internships, be mentored by our engineers, and then create those pathways between, where we need to go, like those communities, and then bring them here.
Thank you.
One of my favorite movie is Ratatouille, and Ratatouille says that anyone can cook. And so I used to tell my PMs on my team, anyone can PM. So if you know how to tell a story. And so to the AI community, I think anyone can do AI. I'm a good example of that. I come from a data analyst background. I have 10 years of data background, and went into machine learning for 3-4 years, and then now is leading AI at an Intuit. And when we think about, you as a person and where you want to go, know that anything is possible. There are many different career tracks within AI. There's product management, engineering, machine learning engineering, data science, and data analytical. When we think about AI, it's AI and AI data placed together. So learn to leverage data, think about data, use data in your day-to-day life, and then find ways to come work at these companies, be it Intuit, GM, Capital One, and any other industry in the portfolio, and look for mentors that are able to invest in you, that are looking for early career, as well as like folks that wants to learn and grow. And that's where we want to, I want to say to the AI community, thank you so much for giving us an opportunity for us to speak our piece. And yeah, we really would love to have you join the forces together.
Well, thank you to our panelists. I certainly learned a lot. And I'm really happy that we have this 2-day event, and I'm looking forward to some of the other speakers. So thank you so much for attending, and I'll see you online.